Good morning. Half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Tuesday, July 20th, and the time now is 9:02. Notice for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on Monday, July 12th, followed by July 16th. The committee will hear and accept testimonies on Bill 153-36, introduced by myself, co-sponsored by Senator Jose Pedo Terlaje, Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Senator Clynton Ridgell, Senator James Moylan, Senator Frank Blas, Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Tony Ada, and Senator Mary Camacho Torres. An act to add a new Article 7 to Chapter 90, Title 9, Guam Code Annotated, relative to the finance, design, construction, and maintenance of the Government of Guam Department of Correction, which the act shall be called the Department of Correction Modernization Act of 2021. The rules of this public hearing shall be: those testifying on behalf of Bill 153-36 UR have been invited, and there are Director Joe Carbolito, Deputy Director Robert Camacho, and there's a superintendent of DOC. You're not the superintendent, not yet, right? Okay, Major Anton Algun. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimony may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes, but you'll have more than 5 minutes to be able to testify. Those testifying will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for additional questioning or additional testimony. Committee testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. We're talking about Bill 153-36. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from providing oral testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. You will state your name and your title for the record. My opening statement on this bill: the Department of Corrections Modernization Act of 2021 allows for financing the construction of a new prison, which will resolve the lack of rehabilitation programs, overcrowding, and personal issues of the agency. Bill 153-36 COR aligns with the department's plan to construct a state-of-the-art correction facility. The bill, together with DOC plan, ensures that all federal standards, such as National Prison Standards, Prison Rape Elimination Act standards, are met by the agency. DOC's growing population of prisoners and detainees have outgrown the agency's ability to safely house them. The housing uses are outdated, dilapidated, and overpopulated. As the agency reached their capacity, rehabilitation of prisoners have been affected due to the lack of facilities that provide work, self-improvement, and rehabilitation programs to the prisoners. Bill 153-36 COR further addresses the overall issues of the agencies with a new and modernized infrastructure. I hope my colleagues will support this legislation. Our people need safety and security within our community. I will now ask Director Mr. Carbolito, you may begin your testimony in reference to this bill. Sir.
Yes. Buenas and alpha day, Mr. Chair. The Department of Corrections is in full support of Bill 153-36, the Corrections, or also known as the Corrections Modernization Act. We believe that this bill will address many of our numerous decades-long challenges. The Department of Corrections was originally built for a little more than 300 prisoners. Through the years, we have tried to address an ever-growing prisoner population with a Band-Aid solutions. In recent years, we have reached a population of over 700 inmates and detainees. In due time, we will gradually see an increase in the prison population, so we must take action now to address the inevitable. This new facility will help us in maximizing our security manpower and substantially reduce overtime based on the proposed design in the prison master plan. It will assist us to be in compliance with the Prison Rape Elimination Act, also known as PREA, and to ensure the safety of all inmates and detainees. Additionally, it would help us to maintain federally mandated standards and to keep our prisoners and officers safe and avoid a federal consent decree. For many years, we have endured many unattainable challenges and horrific acts of violence in our agency, such as assaults, suicides, escapes, riots, and inmate homicides. We continue to find contraband in our facilities, and we are on constant alert to address this situation. In the past years, we have had numerous officers seriously injured due to violent assaults by prisoners. We have also experienced the tragic death of Officer Douglas Mashburn, who was slayed by several inmates while working in a high-security facility. We are embarking on a new correctional modernization overall plan that not only covers a new facility infrastructure, but also updating policies, introducing modern technology for treatment and rehabilitation, and a comprehensive educational and vocational program. But most importantly, the new prison will provide a safe working environment for all of our valued employees and help with morale and job retention, which has been a challenge and is a high priority. An area is slated for the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center that will address all the mental health issues. It will potentially provide a modern medical clinic that will address general medical and dental services. After several months of research and planning, the prison master plan that will be completed by August 2021 will give you a brief overview of our vision for the Department of Corrections. It will address and resolve the long-standing problematic issues at the prison. This will be the first ever comprehensive master plan in the history of the Department of Corrections. In closing, the DOC would like to make the following recommendations or amendments. On page 12, lines 14 to 20, section 83-109, the Pledge of Revenues, we ask that the Governor of Guam may use federal funds that are made available to the government of Guam by the United States federal government for the financing, development, construction, and maintenance of the new Department of Corrections facility. On page 16, lines 17 through 20, section 83-114, Rules and Regulations, we ask that the Guam Economic Authority, in consultation with the Department of Corrections, shall promulgate rules and regulations pursuant to the administrative adjudication law to implement the provisions of this chapter. We humbly ask for your support for Bill 15336, as it will keep our community, prisoners, staff, and officers safe. Biba DOC, Suzus Mausi.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrerido, Director. I know you have a presentation you're going to give, but before you present that, I'm going to go ahead and read the written support, letter of support from Gita, and then I'll have your staff or yourself present the slides that you have. This is from Gita. Hafare, Senators and Augustin, and members of the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing, I would like to herein submit this written testimony supporting Bill 153-36 UR, an act to add new Article 7 to Chapter 90, Title 9, Guam Code Annotated, relative to the finance, design, construction, and maintenance of the Government of Guam Department of Correction, which the act shall be called the Department of Correction Modernization Act of 2021. The Guam Economic Development Authority, in its role as a central financial manager and consultant for the Government of Guam, monitors and advises the government on financial options that can best support and achieve certain goals and objectives. We applaud the sponsors of Bill 153-36 on identifying a funding source for a new Guam Department of Corrections facilities, long overdue to be replaced, and it can no longer fully support the growing prison population. The bill proposes a pledge of $5 million as an annual lease payment for the new Guam Department of Correction for 30 years. The bill further states that the first payment anticipated in fiscal year 2022 will come from the reimbursement of the earned income tax credit, with the following year's payment to come from the general fund. I'd like to first state for the record that whenever a capital lease financing is contemplated, the first lease payment is normally made after the facility is completed, usually in the second year after the financing, which is when the government leasing entity. In this case, GDOC will have gained use of the newly constructed facility, so a lease payment will more likely not become due until FY 2023. In addition, GIDA would like to provide amendments to Bill 153-36 UR based on input and discussion with bond counsel. We request that legislation include GIDA as an optional issuer of the lease financing bonds, as government issues lease finance bonds are triple tax exempt. So to do so, the following amendments are suggested to ensure the financing is treated as debt or as indebtedness that is subject to the debt limit. To clarify, the government is the ultimate rightful owner of the property. Number 4, to clarify the intent of legislation as it relates to existing statutes, specifically A, Section 50103K of Title 12 of the Guam Code Annotated, which authorizes GIDA to issue the GDOC lease financing bonds, and B, the issuance of GDOC lease financing bonds shall not be subject to the approval of the voters of Guam. Those amendments are marked and attached to this testimony for easy reference. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to provide support of Bill 153-36 UR. Should you have any questions, please contact me at 647-4332 or via email at joanne.camacho@investguam.com. Jesus Masi, Joanne G. Camacho, Acting Administrator. I just wanted to make sure I read that for the record, and it will be attached to the bill and the committee report. Now I'll turn back to Mr. Carbolito or Major Anton to do the presentation. Sir, I know you have slides.
Yes, good morning. Slides, please. Okay, Senator, I want to point out that this presentation, again, our master plan is ongoing. We're not expected to have it completed until the mid part of August. So this overview, again, is all in draft form for this body's information. Okay. So our current master plan, again, we're looking at replacing our existing correctional facility with a new state-of-the-art jail. And as we worked on this project, of course, we looked at our current land use, and we've decided it might be the best option for us to build our new facility within our current footprint within the Manila facility. And we don't want to go out in the community, try to get another piece of land and spend a couple years fighting the community for this. Our master plan is an 80-year master plan that we're looking at. And as part of the master plan, we sat down with the DOC leadership. We talked to the officers and staff to include Guam Behavioral Health and the GMH staff on their overall needs of the future, of what they would need in the new facility. So that will all be encompassed in our master plan. Our goal is to control and reduce long-term operating costs, overtime, maintenance costs, which currently are as you know, our facility is, based on its current design and operation, it does cost a lot to operate. Of course, one of our goals is to improve the inmate vocational skills by building within our new correctional facility the training rooms and other areas that will be used for inmate programs. Okay. Also, we provide medical and dental, improve our medical and dental and behavioral for the inmates. So all that will be part into our plan. And of course, improve the safety of the officers and the inmates. As testified earlier, over the years, we've had some issues with inmate assaults on inmates and staff. And by getting the new facility with more modern equipment, we're hoping to improve the safety of both the staff and the inmates. All right, next slide. Back one. Okay, so our approach to this project, senators, is a 4 initial phases over the course of 15 to 20 years. So it's not an overnight build. It's not a one-time build this correctional facility under one time. It's going to take several years to get it to where we need to be in the future. But at least we have a plan for it. In the future, in the past, we just find space on the land and we put an 80-bed building without really understanding how that building is going to interact with operations and all the support that it needs to operate. For example, the medical and the mental health and the dental care that come with increasing the population of a prison that prisoners need. They have a constitutional right to these requirements. Phase 1 is the biggest part of this project. It's 60% of our overall project, and this will cover the Guam behavioral, the medical intake for jail, also take care of the land preparation and some other areas that are needed for this project as we move forward with it. In our master plan, we've also identified some functional specifications, some things we would like to see within the prison to improve security, locks, attorney visitation, and the like that will improve our operation. Architect build package. I am working on a current RFP for architectural services. Once we have that ready, hopefully we can identify funding to move forward with architectural service for this project. Okay. Our consultant is working with us on that piece of that particular document right now. Again, we want to emphasize the skill training for the inmates is one of our goals to improve the rehabilitation so that when they get out, they have a better chance to be successful than our current system right now where we don't really have much programs going on to address their issues. Next slide. This one, the next slide, sir, is just a deal. It just basically talks about our phase approach, removing post 5, and how we're going to start building this project up at our minimum in area, also known as our vocational rehabilitation services. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, that one. In our master plan, we also did a evaluation of our current housing units. Will be detailed in that report come mid-August. We have some really bad buildings up there that are really in really bad condition, and our new facility will address those issues. Next slide. This is just our current layout of our facility in Manila. As you can see, the facility is huge. We have a lot of land that is not being utilized properly, and this particular layout that you're looking at requires a lot of officers to operate, and this is one reason why overtime is so high. Over the years, like I mentioned earlier, we find a piece of land, we put a building, never really understanding how this will affect operations and not having all the support it's needed to deal with these inmates that are housed up here. For example, medical and behavioral health and dental and training programs. The next slide. Again, this is basically where we're going to start our project. If you see up on the right side there's a big yellow box there. That's where this project will start. That's at our minimum in facility and our VRS, Vocational Rehabilitation Services area. So we were going to start at that end of the facility, and we're building it away from the road, to prevent contraband as much from being thrown into the facility as it currently, currently we get a lot of issues from the highway there with contraband coming in. And next slide. Again, this particular master plan, phase 1, this is where 60% of our project will, the cost of our project. So this building here will house our jail. We will have an intake processing area for our jail, behavioral health, medical, our training, our food area, and then the other for the 160 capacity bed for the prisoners, and the other 320 capacity for the jail and of course inmates. Again, in our master plan, all this is spelled out in more detail. This is basically an overlay of our conceptual design of what we're looking at. Now, you're looking at it in a one-dimensional thing, but this is going to be basically like a two-story building. So the ones with the bunk bed will be like the second floor, and the other one on the side of the cells, that's actually the first floor. So you're looking at it first floor and second floor, right? And each side of these domes will have 40 beds on it. Again, the reason why we kept the numbers at that around 80 or so is in the event of something occurring within the housing unit, it's more manageable than instead of putting 100 or 200 people in that building at one time. It's we want to be able to control the numbers, separate them so that if in the event of a crisis, we can properly manage them. And again, it's, it may not, because it's one-dimensional, but again, this is basically what we're looking at this time. Phase 2, the next one, is basically phase 2 of our project, where we add on to our facility, and we can see up there that we're taking out the domes, we're removing the domes up there, and we're just building out. Phase 2 would give us, based on this, probably almost 700 capacity at this particular point in our project. Again, the food service, the medical, the behavioral, all that will be addressed in phase 1. Okay. The next slide is phase 3, and this again will take us out even farther out. Again, giving us a max unit. A max unit of 140 capacity, and this will bring our population probably about to 900 at that point. Our capability of about 900 beds at that point. And the next one after that is phase 4, and this will take us out to about 1,140 beds. So again, as you can see, this project does not all have to happen at once, overnight. This is over the course of, as I mentioned earlier, 80 years basically of our project, of how we envision the facility moving forward using our current footprint. Okay, and then the next slide talks about basically this brings it all the way out to the year 2021 and brings our capacity even up farther. Right? Bed capacity, I believe it says there in the bottom, 2,100. And so this is, again, this will take us long beyond my time at DOC. This is the first time we've ever had anything such a plan as far as how we want our facility to look in the next 80 years. And again, this, like I mentioned earlier, this is still a work in progress. Right now, we just wanted to share this with the legislature so that at least they see what current direction we're going in. And again, the final report will come out in August, and then we will share that with you. The last slide there basically is just basically talks about the land. We got this from land management, and it just shows the parcels of land around DOC and just so we have an idea of where our footprint exists within this project. Okay. So that's basically the brief presentation of our master plan right now. Again, more detail in August once we finalize the whole thing. Thank you.
Major Hogan, didn't you want to go over the last slides and read that out? Just read what's on the slide, not necessarily explain it. It's self-explanatory, so if you can just read it out, what the next steps are now.
Next step, I'm sorry, maybe didn't come that out. Okay, so our next step, again, Senator, I'm sorry, I didn't see that one. Okay, so we're working on like I mentioned earlier, we're working on an RFP for architectural services. We can't put that out for bid unless we identify the funding for that. Okay. We're also again, funding we mentioned there. A lot of it is the funding for this project. It talks about private partnerships, and as we worked with our consultants, one of the things he educated us about is that these public-private partnerships, although in some cases may be a good way to start the project, it is also known to be the most expensive way to fund a new prison. And with that partnership, there comes a lot of hidden costs or other costs that are associated. So, I mean, he was recommending a bond or some sort of other financing options available other than just a private partnership. But again, we're going to leave that up to Gita and the legislature and this body to determine what will be the appropriate way to fund this project. But like the director mentioned earlier, we seriously need to start working on this project now and not wait 10 more years to get this project going. On the other hand, Senator, if we don't do this now, we're going to continue to experience the same problems we're having now with overtime, lack of personnel, infrastructure issues, security, lawsuits from inmates, and inmate safety and officer safety concerns. We're still going to have that. So now this is the farthest we've ever come in my years as working with DOC, that we've actually come this far on this project. And I hope we can continue it once the funding is identified and continue to move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Hogan. I'd like to recognize Senator Brown has joined us this morning. Director Carbolito, or either one, Major Camacho, Deputy Director Camacho, or Major Hogan, did you receive funding to establish a master plan to start at least coming up with a conceptual plan of what you might need?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. You did receive then from DOI. How much money did you receive?
Okay, so the current master plan project, the grant was $250,000 from DOI that we received. That's what's paying for us to develop this master plan. I think it was 2016. 2016 we received that funding, and we were finally able to work out through the RFP process and hire the consultant. And the grant expires in December of this year. December of this year the grant expires, but we are hoping to have everything done by August of this year.
All right, thank you. Oh, we're also joined by co-sponsor Senator Frank Blas. I'll now ask Senator Brown if she has any questions or comments for the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If we could pull up the slide, I mean, you have a number of them, but just the layout of your property. Maybe the one here that has the adjacent property markers. It's on page, I guess page 12. It's on the back side. Yeah, page 12. Can we pull that up?
Down.
I think it's the second to the last.
This is the one that master plan road access. It has the adjacent boundaries and.
That one right there?
Yeah, that one. I just wanted to ask, I see in the bottom right corner there's a white building, and there's in an earlier slide here it indicates you're looking at acquiring that. That's not part of your doesn't look like it's part of your existing footprint. What is located in that building?
Yeah, yes, Senator, that is a residence.
Oh, it's a private residence.
It's a private residence. And, originally, again, we're still working on our master plan project, but originally the idea was, consider the government, maybe acquiring that residence. However, in working our project, again, we decided maybe there's ways we can work around this so that we don't have to, bother any of the neighbors or anyone in that area with their land and their house. So, we've talked to our consultant, and we figure we have a way to work around that. But it's still always an option on the table. But again, that is a lengthy process, and we are cognizant of the fact that land issues on Guam are very delicate, and we don't want to upset anyone or take their property for this prison. So,
What was the reason? Are you just, because it's isolated in that corner, what was the reason of wanting to acquire it?
well, because of the road, the way the current easement that's right back there, it's right on our boundary, it's right on our fence line. So we would need to move the project a little bit into the compound a little bit to ensure that the residents back there have proper access to their thing. But it's it's right there on our boundary. So.
But you could easily do that. I mean, you have a sizable piece of property that is unoccupied. I mean, I know in the past you've used that area for, you've raised pigs there, you've also done conservation farming.
Yes.
Is that the intent on your property, to keep this open area here for those type of activities in the future, on the bottom left side?
Yes, Senator. Again, over the years when we start doing this, we're going to have a vocational building and some other things in that area for the inmate training. And auto shop and other workshops, Right now, their current facilities is basically a tin shack, that they're using. So we plan on utilizing that to build a proper building as part of our project. Plus, the minimum housing unit that we're going to replace is going to be in that area, along with the minimum out, the halfway house, as you can say, the ones that go for education release and community programs. So we're going to put them at that end of that building there. That is our plan at this point, and that's how we envision moving forward. And again, by December, Senator, when we finally get this plan together, it'll be all more in detail. It's a pretty big, pretty detailed document.
I appreciate the clarification, because I was kind of wondering why there was a square around that particular building on the with the inference of looking at possibly accommodating or acquiring that property. And I can understand wanting to put a buffer around it, but looking at the adjacent lots, I mean, inevitably in time, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before other houses and construction activity happen there adjacent to your property. I don't have a problem at all with the proposal that you're making. I think it's a very good one. I don't know that we necessarily need to wait 80 years, because, wow, that's we will be dust in the wind by then, as the song goes. But I like the phased approach, because financially, I think it's a responsible thing to do. I don't necessarily know that we can finance all this up front, and while there might be some initial money on the table because of the windfall that we're receiving, we don't know where our economy is going in the next few years and building up our tourism industry. And then also just concerns about our ability to finance other obligations of the government. I mean, I'm not too anxious to be running down and taking so much off the table and doing long-term financing because this to me is only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we're talking about Simon Sanchez, they're talking, we want to build a new hospital. But there's a lot of old government facilities, including schools, that are far older than Simon Sanchez that have not been addressed. And I just know financially, when you put all that on the table in our debt ceiling, we're just not going to be able to accommodate the needs of the next 10, 15 years. If we start segmenting all this money and long-term financing, and then we don't have what we need to run the day-to-day obligations of government. So I'm very supportive. I know there's a need for it. I mean, publicly, most people don't think or care about the prison. That's the real reality in terms of what's the maintenance of the facility, the security aspects of it. It's only when things happen or a problem happens that most people hear about it. But certainly for the time that we are taking care of the individuals up there that are incarcerated, I mean, we do have to meet certain standards to ensure their safety and well-being, and even more importantly, the safety and well-being of your officers and your other staff that work at the prison. So I have no objection. I actually like the phased approach. As I mentioned, I don't think we should have to wait 80 years collectively to complete it. I think once you get the first phase done, you can start working on the second phase. Hopefully by then there's release of more borrowing capability or cash capability to be able to build and add on to it. But I agree, there's a need to do it. It's been debated for many years. There's so many years that the prison was not in compliance and had to meet those federal requirements. And so we recognize there's a need to address the upgrades and improvement to a new facility. I like the fact that you are looking at your existing footprint. I know a number of years ago there was a public discussion of whether or not the prison should be moved out of its current location to where, that's debatable. And then also just the cost of acquiring additional property I think would be difficult. So the fact that you're able to incorporate this into your existing footprint and then also look at your expansion as you phase out of the old facility makes an awful lot of sense and can be done in a very organized fashion so it doesn't upset your operations and the things you need to do. So, Mr. Chairman, I do support this phased approach of building the new prison, and I certainly commend you guys. I know it's been a long time in coming, a lot of talk and a lot of debate over the years, but it never really ended up in anything tangible. So I'm happy that you guys were able to receive your grant to do your initial design of phasing, and we look forward to seeing more detailed plans as you're moving forward, because it's definitely a long time in coming. Certainly, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to comment and ask questions with regards to this bill.
Thank you, Senator Brown. We're also joined by Senator Ada and Senator Frank Blas, our co-sponsor, if he likes to make comment or questions to the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for being here. I was just going through the master plan and everything, and I have to agree with Senator Brown that this phased approach is actually more palatable, and it seems more realistic, and as well as something that's very, very doable. Question that I had is a few years ago, I want to say a couple decades ago, there was, I guess, some concern with regards to the safety security zone around the facility, and I do recall that it was across the main street from where the facilities are at, that there were some residents that were over there too that were basically concerned because they were, I guess, approached and reminded that they were in the safety security zone. But when I'm looking at your master plan here, it doesn't seem to identify that. Has there been a change in that? Maybe because I remember talking to you about this, I think 20 years ago, right? I thought we were talking about this. You know what I'm referring to? That safety and security?
Yes. Well, Senator, as we mentioned earlier, the plan was to initially encumber the residences to the right of that of the facility. However, through conversations with the planners and also with the governor's office, we decided that the best approach would be to move the entire project maybe 75 feet to the west, and to avoid that situation, and also have enough buffer room so that there's no issues regarding security. And so that was a workable plan according to the planners. And so that, again, we're going to have a final plan in August that will determine that.
Okay. So, the concern that was raised by the family, I guess now it is no longer an issue. Is it safe to say that now?
We haven't approached the family members at this point because we're not considering at least at this point, regarding any kind of like eminent domain issues.
Yeah, because I remember there was a discussion there, and there
Right.
was the scary part was that
Yeah.
the discussion was the
Right.
utilization of eminent domain, which
Right. Well, there's two things that also, this facility in its plan is going to be compartmentalized so that there is really no interaction outside it's going to be pretty much secured.
okay.
And so it's not going to be like an open area. So there's going to be lighting, of course, and all those other things that are considered for, you know, humane purposes and all that. But the facility is going to be, you know, over 30 feet high. It's going to be something that it's going to be quite secure. We're not going to, it's going to eliminate dramatically any kind of issues regarding contraband and access into the facility, the outside, or even trying to escape.
Okay. I'm going to reference to page number, let's go ahead and go with page number 10 of your master plan.
If the MIS could go ahead and put the slide 10 on the screen, please.
10 or 11, page, the phase 4. There you go. I noticed that in the bottom right-hand side, the aerial view in the bottom right-hand side, and recognizing that this is an overlay of what exists today and as far as the properties, but it's going to be very safe to assume that there's going to be brush clearing along the right side, the back side, which is going to be the back side of that facility?
Senator, we are actually working with DPW at this, I mean land management at this point, and we're going to have it surveyed.
Okay.
And to make sure that we are in, you know, the boundary, where the boundaries, we're going to reestablish I guess relook and mark those boundaries appropriately. And of course, we are going to clear the area so that there is a field of view for the security also. So yes, we will clear that accordingly.
Yeah, because I'm concerned because in the backside it appears that you've got some
Oh, yes.
already, you know, the properties that have already been divvied up. It looks like there's going to be there's a proposed subdivision in the back. This is actually on
Yes,
page.
Right, it's has a multi ownership. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just making sure that first off, I applaud you guys. You're trying to work within the footprint you got because, you know, we have that not in my backyard.
That's right.
Okay, concern, and so just making sure that and recognizing this is just a conceptual rendition and everything that you're looking at making sure that first off it is within your footprint, and secondly that there's enough in that footprint behind it for the security concerns, right? The buffering and everything.
That's right, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Blas. Senator Ada, do you have any comments or questions for the panel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, you know, I was listening to my colleague, Senator Brown, on the phase plan over 80 years. Well, I expect to see that 10th phase in 80 years from now, Senator, so I'll still be around by then, hopefully. You know, I was looking at the phase approach, and I agree with Senator Brown that, you know, the phase approach is a great way, but when you look at the first 4 phases, the phase 1 to phase 4, and you're looking 15 to 20 years, is on our initial release of or the financing options available, what is DOC's plan? Are you looking at just going financing phase by phase, or are you looking to take out financing for the first 4 phases and then doing it a phase every 4 or 5 years, every 5 years, because you're going phase 1 to phase 4 in 20 years, and that comes to about every 4 years to complete a phase? What's the intent of DOC with the first 4 phases?
Go ahead. Well, sir, our priority would be for phase 1 and 2. If we can do that in the beginning, at least, as a top priority, that will significantly improve our operations and our overall status as a correctional facility. Though we are, as far as funding, we're looking at multi-purposes, areas of support, whether it be through grants, bonds possibly, or through possibly getting a little bit of money from the Recovery Act. So yeah.
What is, I mean, I know this is draft, and I know you guys are still working on it.
Right.
I heard Captain Agustin, I believe, right, was mentioning in August, you guys will probably have a final layout of the plan. What are we looking at for cost of the first 4 phases, if that's what, you know, the important, in the immediate near future, to 5 to 20 years from now? What are you looking at for cost?
Sir, the estimated cost at this point, just based on square footage, and each phase actually has a different cost, because each phase might have just standard buildings. Others might require maximum electronic devices and so forth. But the estimated cost is anywhere from 170 to 200 million dollars for the overall cost for the facility.
For the first 4 phases, or the overall master plan?
The first 4 phases, I believe. Yeah.
So we're looking at 200 million for the first 4 phases.
Right, something around that.
No.
I'm
That's
sorry?
the whole. That's the
I'm
whole.
sorry. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Correction on that.
It's-
Because I wasn't too sure on
yeah,
the
the-
last 2.
Yeah, so 150 minimum to about 200 maximum. That's for the whole. That's for the whole phases.
Yeah.
All of the whole project itself. And that's based on the square footage. I don't know if you were provided this copy
No?
on the square footage. So
Yeah, we can get a
we just,
copy of
yeah,
that.
yes, we'll provide it, Senator.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Again,
that-
sir, the square footage is based on the different needs for each phase. And some will require more cameras, more electronic devices. And, you know, some are more simple, like, you know, like say a training room area, that will be less costly.
So the 200 million, 150 to 200, is that just infrastructure, or does that include the beds, you know, all the,
Major?
Yes, sir. The beds, of course, and the cells are going to be cement built into it's part of the project. The build, the doors, the toilet, the showers, all of that's part of the cost estimate of why the prison would cost that much money, you know, that much money for the different phases. Like they said, we're looking at get us all the way up right now up to about phase 2, and that includes the land preparation, you know, clearing the site area, demolishing that housing unit, and doing that. But 160 million, give or take, would get us up to basically phase 2 and just about into phase 3 of the project. The rest, again, like you said, can come over the course of 20 years when it's time to expand the facility. And the whole idea of the 80-year plan is so we can map out the land, so we know where the next building goes and how it's going to connect with the previous building. Because as of you know now, we've expanded this prison over 30 years right now, but we had no plan on how to do it. We just put a building, not really connecting it with all the resources it's needing. And so now we're left with our current footprint of 18 different housing units spread out throughout the whole compound. And so this way approach, it's in phases, and it's more manageable, and you know, taking into consideration staffing needs and other things as we move this prison forward and expanding in the near future.
I see. On the, what is the current staffing for DOC?
Currently, sir, we have about 188 officers.
And in the next 5, perhaps maybe 10 years, where do we look at staffing to be with the improved, more modernized, more technologically secured facility?
Sir, right now, again, that's part of our analysis and our master plan, but currently with the 18 housing units that we have, for the 560 prisoners that we have, it's spread out. I mean, each shift requires almost 30-some officers on duty just to manage this. By bringing all these inmates together in a properly designed building, it's estimated right now that, I would only probably need 20 to 25 officers per shift to run this amount of prisoners. Again, being in mind that the buildings are equipped with cameras and the right technology to assist us. So I see our staffing needs to dramatically decrease over the years. Right now, Senator, if we were to fully staff the Department of Corrections based on a staffing analysis of each housing unit, we would need 350 correction officers to run that place. 350. We're doing it right now for 188. Our overtime, as you know, is quite high every year to make up for that shortfall. And we anticipate by getting this new facility, bringing everybody in closer in a more modern building, the amount of officers to watch these inmates would dramatically decrease, thereby cutting down on overtime and, the continuous need to hire, up to 200 some officers on board. So again, when our master plan is finally finalized, we should be able to sit down and really analyze our staffing needs. That's part of our project, is to do our staffing analysis, and so that's still ongoing right now.
I hope by August, when you finalize everything, that you'll be able to give us a clearer picture as to your staffing needs for the facility. Because I look at here and I see that just phase 1 and phase 2, we're looking at an increase in capacity at 800. So, you'll be able to house 800 inmates just by phase 2's time. So, we're looking at about, in 10 years, you'll be able to house 800 inmates, but what the staffing would be at that point in time, I guess won't be known until August, when we get the final draft of your master plan here. But I think it's way past due to improve the facilities up to the Department of Corrections. I know Senator McCready back in the 33rd or 32nd legislature was trying to do the same concept, as well as in building a new facility. So let's hope that we get this ball rolling, and you guys will be able to let this happen. But I hope it's in at least the first 2 phases, that it's a shorter period and not 15 to 20 years for the first 4 phases. And if we want to improve the morale, we want to improve the health and safety of the prison population, but also the employees up at DOC. And I think we need to think a little bit, outside the box, and let's see how we can make it happen just a little bit quicker than 15 to 20 years down the road.
That's right.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this, and thank you for allowing me to be a co-sponsor in this bill too.
Thank you, Senator Eda. And yes, I agree with you. It's going to get done a lot faster than 15, 20 years. I can't see that. And I agree with Senator Brown. We go in phases, and then with the amendment that was proposed by yourselves and Gita, is that one of the major things is to go after grants. Because the grants could probably get close to paying half of this. I know the federal prisons would probably say, if you're going to get fixed, we're going to find a way to help you. DOI has helped you now. I can see DOI helping you again. The governor's office is in support of this, because it's about upgrading the Department of Correction. And doing what it was intended was to rehabilitate folks that have been, that are confined to that compound other than the folks that's got life. But with that, I'd like to thank my colleagues for their presence today. And hopefully the passage of Bill 153-36 will help the Department of Corrections to have a modern, improved, secured facility to provide safety and security to the people of Guam. Bill 153 is essential as our correction facility is in dire need of a new and modernized facility that ensures adequate housing and service for inmates and detainees, but also builds on the safety of our island and our people. Other than just the inmates, we're also concerned about the staff. We want to make sure that everybody's safe. Okay? It is our duty to ensure our people are provided for whether they are liberated or not. It is simply just and right for the Department of Corrections to have a modernized infrastructure that upholds security of inmates and detainees, as well as rehabilitative service to equip them with life and work tools so they may thrive once they are reintegrated into the community. I ask my colleagues for their support and look forward to seeing the modernization of the Department of Correction. With that, the committee will continue to receive testimony, and please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. Sizus Masi for attendance, Mr. Cablito, Mr. Camacho, and Major Ann Uggan. And for those at home, thank you for watching. This public hearing on Bill 153-36 UR is now adjourned. It is 9:58. And please have a safe day and happy liberation. Thank you.